Welcome to our weekly mastermind call. Today's topic is how to go diamond, and I want to open this up to people on the call who are at least gold. The reason for that is because if you can go gold, you can go diamond. And of course, platinums and diamonds and above. What I want to do is ask really simple questions that I think it's worth it to discuss. For example, I have a call each week with my diamonds, and I gave them a little assignment on my last call yesterday, where I asked them if you could give me the top 10 tips, like how do you go of things that you're going to need to go diamond, and I'm starting to get like these really cool principles. So let's call them principles, right? So the top 10 principles to reach diamond. And principles that like characteristics or attributes or commitments or whatever it happens to be that make it possible for you to go diamond. So here's the question. If you are gold, platinum, diamond, I want to know, in your opinion, what is the number one thing that you need to have in order to succeed at a diamond level in doTERRA? One thing, your top thing. What is it? Star 5 star to raise your hand. Love to hear from you. All right. What is the one thing, if you could pick one thing that a person needs to have in order to go diamond, what would it be? All right. Jenny, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Jenny here in Wisconsin. I'm at Gold, and action would be the word that would come to my mind.
Okay, elaborate on that.
The action. I mean, the thought of being diamond or being a leader or just thinking in the mentality of being a diamond doesn't get you to diamond. I've seen a shift in myself over the last, I'd say, month. And I'm always busy, always super busy with doTERRA. But I'm realizing just recently that the activities, the actions that I've been doing haven't been actions to move me forward. So being exact and being intentional with your actions are going to get you to diamond. That is at least my belief and goal.
Yeah, I agree. So if I were to say, are you describing also hard work?
Yeah, right, yes. But doing things that are going to move you forward. I just laughed because I was just transitioning my office space from, we had moving furniture around, and so I was alphabetizing my oils and laughing. I'm like, this is like my rest day of working out. Like, this is an activity that's not going to move my business, but it is going to create a space and it is going to create an environment where I can work. So I always show that's like my rest day of exercising, or my rest day of doTERRA. But yeah, doing actions that are going to actually move me forward. So, the 631 and making sure I'm connected to people above me and inspiring me and things like that.
Yes, I agree. In fact, I know, look, I'm about to say something that I know isn't true, and I know it's helped a ton of people, but I have become like bitter towards vision boards. And the reason why isn't because vision boards aren't important. It's because so many people have vision boards with no action. So they put up this vision board in their house that shows everything that they want in life as a reminder of what they're never going to have because they never take action to get it. And it's so frustrating to me. I'm like, stop it with the stupid vision board. Just go do something,
Can I share with you? My team is reading "You Are a Badass" by Jen Sincero, and I just posted this quote on my Facebook page, our Facebook book club page, and it just cracks me up, but it's so true. It says, sadly, we cannot just float around on our neighbor's pool on a raft with a cup holder, sipping a cocktail, being all high frequency while waiting for unicorns to fly down from the sky. We have to take action, hell bent for glory kind of action. And I just thought that was so hilarious because that's so just vision board without the action. So anyway, that's
exactly. You know, that is exactly the problem I have. Like, everybody goes, you know, if I just put it out there, the universe is going to, and I'm like, no. Your frequency is determined by your level of activity. If the frequency that you're putting out there to the universe is not tied to your personal activity, then your frequency is not powerful enough to move you, let alone anybody else in your path. And so,
right. Yeah,
so move action. Wonderful. Awesome. Thanks, Jenny. That was awesome. By the way, what's your last name?
It's Gann Dudgeon.
Sorry, say it again.
It's Gann, Gann hyphen Dudgeon, Dudgeon. It's a mouthful.
Awesome. No, that's fantastic. I just want to know who gave that awesome comment. Thanks, Jenny.
Oh, thanks, Rob.
All right, Courtney. Go ahead, Court.
Hey, so I have Kristen Fox with me, and she had something to say, and then I do too, so I'll go ahead and go first.
Okay.
So I don't know the exact words to put to it, but when you asked that question, one of the things that came to mind, you know, is that I think there has to be a commitment to continue past Diamond to reach it. I think that sometimes people have that as the end goal, and so that makes it really, really difficult to reach that. And so I think it's like this commitment that it's never going to end. This isn't a place that you finally just arrive at, and then you can be like, okay, good, I'm glad I'm here, and then be done with, right? Like you have to be so committed to doTERRA, to your purpose of what you're doing, that you're going to go past Diamond, and that's just a stepping stone. And I think people
okay, I'm
look
trying
at
to wrap
silver
my
as
head
stepping
around what
stones.
you're trying to say. Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around what you're saying, and it is very true.
Yeah.
So, by the way, for those of you who are just joining the call, I've asked people on the call that are gold and above, because if you can go gold, you go diamond. That's just the way it is. But the question was, I guess I should kind of lead up to it a tad. So yesterday I asked all of my diamonds. I have a call with my diamonds once a week. And I asked them, what are the 10 top principles to go diamond? And I started getting all these really cool text messages from people where they were sharing with these things. And so I'm asking on the call, the gold, platinums, and diamonds, and saying, if you could pick the number one thing, the number one principle to reach diamond, what is it? We just heard about action being one of those. And then Courtney mentioned a commitment to go past diamond. And I want to kind of explore that with you to get more clarity on what this means. But when you said that to me, Courtney, I think what I heard was I think that a lot of times people want to go diamond and they just hate the work that they're involved in to get to diamond. and you know, like, okay, I'm gonna grit and bear this. You know, I'm gonna trudge through this torture to become diamond. And I think that when you're saying you have to commit to go beyond diamond, I think that in some regards what you're committing to is, no, this is the work that I love to do. This is a work that I love for the sake of the work itself. And I can tell you that for doTERRA, I love helping people find healing. I love helping them find solutions. I love, you know, and so the work that we're engaged in is such a great work that it isn't just about hitting diamond. It's about committing your life to this direction, and diamond is on that path.
Yeah, and it may be that you are at diamond, and that's all the further you want to go, but that you're willing to continue in the work to help others below you go diamond. Like, right, it's not just about forming these 4 silvers underneath you. I mean, I think that's part of what I mean, too, when I'm like that commitment of going past diamond, right? You know, sometimes we talk about, you know, you can hit the rank and then, you know, then you have to, like, grow into the rank, right? Or you become the rank first and the rank has to just catch up to you, right? And I think that's part of it, is that even though you may hit that rank of diamond, you know, that you need to still, you know, have this commitment to become blue diamond, and then, you know, maybe that rank will catch up to you. Does that make sense? But it's like it's not just about these 4 people, you know, and it again goes back to that work of not just putting a healer physical, but emotional and financial, and helping, others do that it doesn't just end with you. And I think sometimes when we have this goal to just go diamond, like all you're focused on is you and these 4 people, right? And I think that you really have to be focused on a lot bigger picture.
Well, if I were to, you could tell me if I'm summarizing what you're saying, but I think what you're describing is vision.
Yeah, it's probably the best way to describe that.
It's having, right, it's having a large vision and I personally agree with it. If someone were to say, give me the top principles to reaching diamond, I would actually say the very first thing was vision. You have to have a vision for where you're going and what you're trying to accomplish in your life with doTERRA, and how doTERRA and your life is going to change not just your life but many people's lives, and have a vision for that.
And that vision will be bigger than just one diamond with 4 silvers underneath it. It just will be. It has to be in order to achieve that.
Thank you. Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Does Kristen Fox have something?
Okay, so is it my turn now?
It is your turn.
Awesome. Okay, so first thing that came to my mind when you first said that was being willing to do what it takes. And, I could go so many directions with this. Nathan is really encouraging me to read The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. In there, he explains that the only difference in some of the first, maybe the first or second chapter, he talks about the only difference between people that operate on the right side of the quadrant, which is big business and investments, which is financial freedom, versus the left side, which is hauling buckets, really, and employee.
Yep, employee, self-employed.
Self-employed, okay. Employee or self-employed. Either one is hauling buckets and you are trapped. The only difference is the ability to continue moving forward through unseen difficulties, goal in sight, for freedom. There is a price and must for freedom. And I often think of fighting for freedom as in our military, like defending our homeland of our America, the freest country in the world, the United States of America. And as I think about that, I go, oh, so I have my own freedom to fight for, that I am my own warrior for it. And if I'm not going to fight for it, no one else is. And so am I going to get to that point where I'm going to go, oh, my frontline builder decided to quit because of all these really good reasons, and I totally understand it, but does that mean that I'm victim to that and that, oh, I guess I'm not going to be diamond anymore. I guess I'm not going to help anybody else with oils anymore. I don't know. My husband's not supportive. I have to move. I just had a baby. I've experienced all of these things that I'm telling you. And so there has to be a point where you go, no matter what, we'll figure it out, no matter what. And sometimes the journey is blissful and beautiful and so rewarding. And sometimes it looks like a big pile of poo that you're stepping through, and you're nasty and mucky and yucky and stinky, and you don't look attractive at all. No one wants to be around you. and it's just figuring out how to wash all that crap off of you and to keep moving forward, knowing that you are on the right path and that all of it is worth it.
Yeah.
And I could go on, but that's what I'm feeling. There is a difference. Between
that's
people
so
who think
good.
that way and those who don't.
Yes, so the first sentence that you said, I think, summarized beautifully, but that is a willingness to do whatever it takes. And look, here's one thing I'll tell everybody out there who when we say whatever it takes. Let me just say, everyone I've known that went diamond has never had to do anything that compromises their integrity or anything like that. So you don't have to do anything that is dishonest or outside of moral and ethical bounds. You don't have to do any of that. But I agree completely with what Kristen is saying here, that you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to pay the price, whatever it may be. And I have seen that people go, well, of course I want financial freedom. Of course I want this type of freedom, but only if reaching that fits into this box of activities that I'm willing to do. And if it means that I have to do something outside of that box, outside of my comfort zone, outside of what I'm expecting this journey to be, well, then I'm not going to do it at all. Or that was a price I was unwilling to pay. And I've said this before, but the journey to get to diamond or blue diamond or presidential diamond, the journey is harder than I thought it would be. I remember when I was reaching for these goals, I was thinking, man, this is a lot harder than I expected. But then once you get there and you realize the reward of financial freedom and what it's like to be a diamond, I look back and think it should have been a lot harder than it was. But a lot of people, when it's not as easy or not what the journey isn't taking them down paths that they thought they would go down, they go, oh, I didn't expect to pay this price. I'm not willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to do what I think it should take. And that just is that's just not how life works, and it's not how this works. And so thank you, Kristen, for bringing that up. By the way, we have a lot of people that have joined the call, and I'm just going to set the stage one more time. I asked all of my diamonds on my team to give me the top 10 principles to go diamond. And I'm asking on this call what you feel, if you're gold, platinum, or diamond, or above, if you are in those ranks, if you could pick one thing, the one thing to go diamond, the one characteristic, the one thing you got to be willing to do, whatever it happens to be, I want that one thing. And star 5 star to raise your hand. What we've gotten so far is the first thing is action. A person cannot be diamond unless they're willing to take action, work hard. The 631, working hard on the activities that actually build your business. We learned that vision is important, having a vision that goes beyond diamond, seeing how this is all going to work. And then finally, we learned that you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. Okay. Star 5 star raises your hand. All right, Norma. Norma, I just unmuted your line. Go ahead.
I was, hearing your comment about the unicorns and the frequency, and so I wanted to come back around to that. So I do believe we have to be whole and complete. So some of us have inner work to do in order to be able to be attractive and effective on the outside. And so what I see is that if we're not really able to be, like I would say, complete, whatever that may be, then we're going to start stealing away from the outside world to try to fill our ego. So I believe in a principle, it's a biblical principle, to love God with all your heart, and all your soul, and all your mind, and love others as yourself. I certainly saw the opportunity through Rod. I saw the path between you guys being successful and laying down a sidewalk for me. But I had to go do the inside work because I really wasn't loving myself enough to be able to love others. So when we're not complete and spilling over, then we're reaching from the outside and filling ego. So I do believe we need to be willing to the work to do, like you were talking about, do whatever it takes. Might be an inside upping your frequency and inside learning to learn who you are in God's eyes, learning to hear your gifts and talents, find and discover those things. Do that inside personal development work because I believe that amps up. I can go and be busy and active and take, it might take me like 20 or 100 people to get one productive thing or 5 productive things. But if I'm a person of higher frequency and higher self-love, being able to really serve people as a servant leader, then I can go out and touch every single person I've touched. I can convert them into taking some sort of action because I'm actually, working in my best way rather than taking and stealing from that to fill my inside. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I think, yeah, so when I'm hearing what you're saying, okay, I have a bunch of thoughts going through my head, but the category that you place this under is someone being whole or complete, or whole and complete. Yes. And when you were describing that, you talked about a commitment to personal development. and a commitment to a higher frequency and a higher self-love. I like that. And really kind of understanding who you really are in God's eyes. So those are the things that I was hearing. And I think that if I were to summarize what you said, if I were to give it a different word, I would say a belief in self.
Yeah.
That you believe in and love yourself. Which is
right.
Which if you see it through God's eyes, then your value is infinite right where you're at. You know, you're complete enough and you are whole enough, but you have to believe that now. However, with that said, I also think that it's an understanding that even though I am good enough now, I still need to get better. And, you know,
absolutely.
Like, it's
never
like,
ending.
I love where I'm at, but I'm excited about who I'm going to become. Okay, now, oh my gosh, here it is.
This creates
a principle
possible. Yeah.
Yes, this is a principle that I learned years ago that changed my life completely. So here it is, and I think that this is what Norma, I hope this is what you're saying, because this is what I'm giving words to. But anyway, here it is. It's accept who I was, love who I am, and be excited about who I am becoming.
Yeah, and I would even say in there, accept, you know, he said accept who you love. I would say forgive.
You were.
Forgive where I'm at, because, you know, there's
Absolutely.
a lot of victimization in what we're doing, so there's a little bit of a bridge of laying it down. I find that I see people doing busy work, I see people being productive, and I see people going through the mechanism, and they're not getting the results because they're really not letting their own gift and power and their completeness come to the table, because they're still broken and they're still trying to have other people and other results to be able to make them complete. And once they figure out that it's not these outward examples of getting, you know, people to class or having people convert or come on and do the oils with them, that's not going to complete them. It's that inside work. And then I think that once they have that inside work done, which is why I was coming back to the whole frequency unicorn and rainbow thing, I do believe it's love, and I believe it is that self-love that will help them to be a better servant leader.
Absolutely. I just want to say, well, I keep on saying that if there's one principle, I would take that. But I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying, Norma. If you do not believe in yourself, then nobody else will. And so
right.
It's very difficult to go diamond without a belief in oneself. Thank you.
Yeah.
David Ellis. David, I just unmuted your line. Go ahead.
So mine's not near as deep as Norma. However, if I was asked what is the one thing, and you have to boil it all down into one thing that is required to go diamond, blue diamond, presidential diamond, success in a relationship, success with your kids, success in anything. It doesn't matter what it is. It's the same principle, by the way. And there's actually 5 of them. And I'm going to give you all 5. I know you asked for one, but I'm going to give you all 5 if that's okay. Is that okay?
Perfect. Let's do it.
Okay. It's persistence, 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 and the last one is persistence. and that is success in the key to success in anything that you do in life. Because what Norma just said is absolutely right. Because what that is all summed up in persistence. If you're persistent enough to recognize that where you're at can improve, and you're persistent enough to continue to work on yourself and to continue to do those things, it's easy. It's just like, I mean, take it back to relationships, right? It's easy to be in love with somebody that you don't know much about, right? You meet somebody the first time and they're smoking hot and you got a lot of things in common and it's just, it's a great first date and you're like, I'm in love. This is it. I'm in game over, right? I happen to have had that experience and it did work out that way. And so it is true, but the reality is there's so many more things that you find out along the way. And it's persistence that allows you to be committed enough to, whether it's a relationship, a job, with doTERRA, success in general. It doesn't matter. It's easy to get excited, but it's persistence that guarantees success. And there's a book that I read a long time ago. It's The Greatest Salesman by Og Mandino. And one of his principles was just that, is I will persist until I succeed. And,
exactly right.
And it is a principle that you have to be willing to accept and to embrace, and not only to embrace, but learn to love. And learn to make it a part of this desire to persist, this desire to be better and to persist in whatever it is that you're doing until you succeed, because the journey is the reward. And along the way, through your persistence, you have all these little things. It's like a parent, right? I mean, if you decided I'm not gonna be happy as a parent until my kid is successful, happily married, 5 beautiful little children, and life is perfect, and then I'll be happy, you're going to be sorely disappointed, because it's the little things along the way that make parenting, just as an example, so phenomenally rewarding. But you have to embrace and enjoy those little things. And the journey of doTERRA is no different. If you can't learn to embrace and enjoy the little successes of people on your team, the little things here and there that fuel you to continue to persist until you succeed, you will never find joy at the end of the journey either, because it's not arriving that makes you happy. And that's just a true principle. So persist, and persist.
100% behind you there, brother. In fact, this kind of touches on what Kristen was talking about, a willingness to do whatever it takes. And persistence is that. It's if at first I don't succeed, I'll try again. I mean, it's this willingness to just absolutely sell out and persist and pay the price, no matter what that price looks like. One of my favorite books, and probably I'd say one of the Bibles of business, is Think and Grow Rich. And when you think about it, that book, Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill, it's such a fascinating story in and of itself and how it was written. But basically, Napoleon Hill was given an assignment, I believe by Dale Carnegie, to go around the world, or the country at least, and to talk to everyone who was successful, whoever that happened to be. And he had a note, just a letter from Carnegie saying, talks to this guy. He's on my errand. And so he went around the world talking to everybody who was successful and came up with this book full of principles of what is it that made people successful? Why were they wealthy? Why were they able to do what they did? One of the chapters in that book is on persistence, and that was such an impactful chapter for my life personally. Some of the things that he said in that chapter I've never forgotten. One of them was, those who persist seem to enjoy insurance against failure. All right, so how would you like to buy an insurance policy against failure? Well, persistence is that policy. The second thing he said is that I thought this was so fascinating. He said, sometimes it appears that there is a hidden guide whose duty is to test men through all sorts of discouraging experiences. Those who persist receive, let's see here, it says, those who persist achieve whatever goal they are pursuing, and something infinitely more valuable than material compensation. The knowledge that with each adversity comes an equivalent advantage. Those words have just rung through my mind for years. Especially when he describes the hidden guide, whose duty is.
You just say that again, Seth.
What? Say what again?
That right there. That's slogan. That.
Yeah. So he said, sometimes it appears that there is a hidden guide whose duty is to test us through all sorts of discouraging experiences. Those who persist receive whatever goal they are pursuing and something infinitely more valuable than material compensation. The knowledge that with each adversity comes an equivalent advantage. And so I've contemplated that for years as I've read that book multiple times. And I've thought to myself, it does appear that there's a hidden guide. And it does appear that his duty is to test us through all kinds of discouraging experiences. Why? Because of what David just taught us. Because the gift is the journey. The gift is who you become in the process. The gift is the person that you are at the end of the struggle. Because that's one thing that can never be lost, is who you become in the process. And so I agree completely. I love the persistence principle, and you are correct. Nobody reaches diamond without the ability to persist. Alonzo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
So I love this topic because when Rod was asking for like all the Blue Diamonds to do like a little like mentoring session or put together a live video, this is actually a thing that came up. And the two things that I want to share as far as principles to go by is the idea of integrity and capacity, right? So
okay.
imagine that in life that success is on tap, right? Whatever it is that you're wanting, like the resources, the love, whatever it is that you need, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that is literally on tap for you. Like you could turn on the spigot and it's there. And the thing that most people don't realize is that in Scripture, we're described as a vessel, right? And let me just give you a picture of, say, a cup. And when you have a cup, and when you're that cup, and you're able to take from like this faucet of, like say, like diamond, or a faucet of like this infinite abundance when it comes to money, when it comes to time, when it comes to resources, anything that you need, anything that you want. The way for you to take hold of that is the integrity of your vessel and your capacity. And if you have holes all over your cup, and if your cup isn't big enough, and you freaking are wondering, like, what is going on? Every time, like, I reach this level of success, like, it freaking pours out of me. Or, why do I not have enough to give to people? The fact of the matter is, you either have holes in your cup, or it's too freaking small even to serve yourself. So you need to take a look at, it's like, do I have integrity? Do I have the worthiness of like being able to hold on to this thing, or do I have holes in my cup? And is it big enough to serve me and for the people around me? If it's not, then you need to patch it up and grow that vessel. Grow your capacity. And this is literally like an analogy that I've like been so passionate about, because that's all the secret to success is. Like anything really is infinite. Like you can take hold of it. It's right here for you right now. But do you have the vessel? Do you have the capacity and the integrity to be able to hold on to it?
You know, what's fascinating about your comment, Alonto, is that it actually, ironically, one of the people that I've read that taught me what you're describing is Lance Armstrong. He actually, in one of his books, he said that the amount of suffering that a person goes through while they're in the sport of cycling, that the suffering creates capacity to hold more joy. So the amount of suffering created an amount of capacity to hold the joy of the victory, right? The irony, though, is that he lacked integrity. And even though the sport may have provided a capacity to hold more, his own personal integrity didn't allow him to keep it. And anyway, fascinating idea there. So obviously, I have some follow-up questions with this. How do you increase capacity and integrity? How do you? I guess I have some of the answers. I mean, like, for example, look at your life. If every one of us were to ask ourselves in a quiet moment, get a piece of paper and a pen, and ask the question: in what areas of my life am I out of integrity? And I believe that the answers will come if you write them down. But they'll just start to flow to you, the areas where you need to improve. But I believe that the journey, the hidden guide I just talked about, whose duty is to test us through all kinds of discouraging experiences, I actually think that creates capacity to hold more joy. But what are your thoughts, Alonto?
So when it comes to like that idea of integrity, right? It first starts with your words and then your action, right? So when it comes to like yourself, do you have integrity there? Like when you say things to yourself, when you promise yourself that you're going to do these things, when you're going to take care of like your needs, right? And you don't do it, that pokes holes into like your vessel, right? And that's the internal work that you have to go through. And then you have to also look at integrity in how people see you. Do you say what you do? Or do you do what you say? Like, do you walk in alignment with the truth of who you are? And that's how you patch up the holes, if you have holes, is to literally go to people that maybe you weren't in line with before, like that you kind of let down, and go to them and say, hey, I'm sorry. I promised you this. I didn't do it. Let me do better. Let me make it up to you.
Yep.
And then the fact of the matter is like as you like work on your integrity, your capacity also grows. Because it's like those experiences that you're talking about, right? Like as you grow, like as you like go through this journey of personal development, as you go through this journey of developing relationships with people and going through certain experiences in your life, now you have something to give, right? So like those struggles, those wins, those things that people are around you are needing, like your experience, now you're able to give that. Now you're able to share that. And that's what the hero's journey is all about, is that you go on this journey to discover this like magic elixir, right? And this magic elixir is supposed to save the world. and you're developing this, and you're growing this so you can serve more and more people with integrity and with capacity.
Yeah.
It depends on how big you want to go.
Yeah, this whole concept of integrity is just fascinating to me. I actually, in the Nature of Success course, which is a 3-day course that I teach occasionally, one of the actual master principles, there's like 3 principles that kind of guide the entire rest of the course, and one of them is personal integrity. And this has kind of caused me, obviously, to ponder on this concept of integrity a lot in my life. And you are correct in that the way that you build integrity is you keep your word. And you start by keeping your word with yourself. So if you make promises to yourself, many times we are the easiest people to let down. We're so used to letting ourselves down that we don't even believe ourselves. And so like, for example, like making a commitment to work out, for example, or to study, to spend time in personal development. These are commitments that you can make to yourself, and as you keep those commitments, you start to build a level of integrity with yourself. And then, as you make promises and commitments to others, and you keep those promises and commitments, then integrity grows with them also. And as your integrity grows, you can do more and more. And this whole idea of integrity brought to me a concept, this idea that how does a name gain power? And the reason why I thought about this is from a Christian perspective, is I was always amazed at people who, at least in the Bible and other scripture, where people would do do miracles in the name of Christ. And that just caused me to reflect, like, what is it about a person's name, and how does a name have power? And as I contemplated that, I started thinking, okay, well, how do names gain power around us, in the world around us? And one of the things I realized is that some people have such integrity that if they endorse something, if they put their name next to something, people will pay them, in some cases, millions and millions of dollars, just because their name was a symbol of trust. And if they put their name on something, well, then by golly, that thing or that product or that company or whatever it was could be trusted as well. And then I thought about people who, who lived in integrity, how they could, their name was powerful in and of itself. And I thought, but then people who aren't living in integrity, their name starts to lose more and more power. Like in some cases, someone could write their autograph or their signature on something, and that something automatically becomes worth more. And other people could write their signature on a check, and yet if they continually they lacked integrity in following through on the check, right, on its ability to even cover the funds, eventually their name became worthless in the financial world. Like it became less and less worthy of trust. And so I just kind of realized that the more you keep your word, the more that your name gains power. And if you were to take it, like I mentioned earlier, just the idea of how the Christian world does things in the name of Christ, they believe in the absolute integrity of Christ, that if they were to do something in his name, that his integrity was so perfect that it would bring power to that particular activity. And I just found it fascinating, and I guess maybe an example to all of us of what we might be able to do to gain more power in our name, and that is to be integrous. We've had more diamonds join the call since I've started this. I'm going to ask the question again, and that is, it is if you could name one thing. I asked all of my diamonds to give me the top 10 principles to reach diamond, and I've asked a number of them to give us if they could pick one principle, one thing that they would have to say you have to have in order to go diamond, what would it be? So far, action, hard work, vision, a willingness to do whatever it takes, a being whole and complete, that which it kind of talks about integrity and capacity and persistence. So if you have any other thoughts, I've asked the gold, silvers, the golds, platinums, and diamonds to share with us their thoughts on this. Hit star 5 star to raise your hand. All right, Janet Marquez, I just unmuted your line. Go ahead.
Okay, I love everything that you just said, Jeff. Is so perfect. I would say the top principle for me is belief. I have a gift of believing. And I'll just be real here. Like I'm number 7 of 9 kids. So I was raised with a philosophy that if you cry loud enough, someone else will do it for you. And so, not that I'm not a hard worker or anything. I'm a really hard worker, but I've had to learn to be. Because I grew up with the philosophy that there's always someone that wants to do it if you don't want to do it. And so, and I'm embarrassed by that. You know, like that's something that I've had to learn and root out of myself in order to progress. And I was stuck on it for a long time. Like, who's going to save me here? I'm having a hard time. And then finally, no one saved me. And I was kind of like, oh, well, I'm going to get up and start working then. Awesome. Let's do this. And then I started progressing. So I believe in every single principle that you are saying. But I will tell you, you can do all the work in the world. And if you do it without heart and belief, you are simply you're doing work to prove yourself wrong. You're doing work to prove yourself wrong and everyone else. And that's a really sucky place to be. It really sucks to do and go out and work and sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice. But because your heart doesn't believe, you end up being bitter and broken and burnt out and pissed off that it didn't happen because you did all this work. And so if you don't match up, if you don't have the same amount of belief in what you're doing, in yourself, in the people helping you, and you play as a team, then you can work and work and work your guts out and go nowhere. And in the same right, you can have all the belief in the world, and just like me, when I had that old belief of, 7 kids, number 7 of 9 kids, and all these people that wanted to do for me, so much. If you don't give that up, and you have all the belief in the world, you won't go anywhere. Because no one is going to do the job as well as you're going to do the job for your purpose. So I'm going to say both. I agree everything that you said, all that has been said up to this point, so wholeheartedly. But I also know that the belief in myself, in my leaders, in doTERRA itself is what's necessary.
Amen to that. This entire thing starts with and ends with belief. Actually, I'll say it starts and continues with belief, and it all ends with disbelief. And, basically it's that faith is the power that's going to pull off the miracle you're looking for. And if you don't believe that it can happen, it will not. And if you believe that it will, then it will. And your ability to share your belief with others, if a person believes in such a manner that it gets other people to believe, then your business grows. And your business will grow to the level with which you can spread belief. And so I agree 100%. I keep on saying, every time someone says something, I'm like, yep, that's my number 1 principle. But now, Janet, you've touched it. Actually, belief. You have to believe. And one of the things I love is the belief pyramid. I don't know if you've seen this, but I'm sure a lot of you have. But it's that in order to hit particular ranks, you have to believe. Your belief has to grow. And initially, in order to hit some of the smaller ranks, you have to have a belief in the product. Like executive and elite will get you a belief in the product, and then a belief in the company and the opportunity will get you to premier. Believing in yourself will get you to silver. Believing in your leaders and in what they can do will get you to gold. Believing in your why will get you to diamond. and believing in your influence and what you can accomplish and how you can influence this world will get you to Blue Diamond. And I believe that they said believing in your legacy will take you to presidential. But I agree with that completely. It's all about your belief. And if you believe, well, I'll say it this way: if you were to take away belief, no one could be successful in this business. Belief is where it all starts. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Start by star, if you have another thought on the principles that it would take. What is the number one principle for you? And if it's already been taken, what's the number two principle that you would say a person absolutely must have in order to be a diamond? Well, we certainly could end it on that. All right, if there aren't any more thoughts, I'm just going to summarize what we've learned. I knew it. Jacqueline Child, bring us home. You there, Jacqueline?
So when you said what's the number one principle, and maybe this shows shallow thinking, but I thought endurance. And I actually had a conversation, and she might be on this call with someone yesterday, and she talked about just being in a really hard place right now as far as just mentally with doTERRA. And we talked about different things that she could do, different, oils she could use, different ways to shift her mindset. But then I finally just said to her, you know what? Sometimes you just have to know that you'll feel better in a day or two. And sometimes you just have to endure without giving up. And that, I know that's probably not as high thinking as something that some of you would say, but there's times, if not for my ability to endure through pain, physical, mental, emotional, I'd be nowhere in life. When I was growing up, I loved sports, and that was my life. And I was experiencing a lot of pain, and I just learned to push through that pain. And through my doTERRA journey, and there's been times when, when I first started for about the first 3 years, I'd hit platinum, and my husband still thought doTERRA was a joke. And not because I wasn't bringing in good money, but he just didn't believe in the company. And so I had to endure for 3 years, just knowing, having that belief that this was all going to work out in the end and that I could not stop no matter what. I had to endure. And then when the FDA compliance thing, for some people it didn't affect their business. It actually affected me, my belief, the most that anything has shaken my faith in the company, and not in the company, but just in society in general and in our government. And I just thought I could just give up. I could pull back. But I just endured. I thought that tomorrow will be a better day. And I think endurance is key, because you're going to have those crappy days. And honestly, it's been a few months for me, maybe even a year, where I was just doing doTERRA because I knew it was what God wanted me to do, but I didn't have the joy and excitement that I did when I first was starting, and I was just enduring. But I knew that if I just kept going, I knew that I'd find a shift, and that's happened. I'm as excited now as I was when I first thought of doTERRA, and I'd stay up at night thinking of all the ways I want to get this into people's lives. And I think just enduring, just pushing through it, knowing sometimes you have to cling to those experiences you've in the past and say, right now I don't have much faith, but I know I had faith before, and I'm just going to cling to that. I'm going to push through till I can get to that next shining bright moment in my doTERRA journey. So I really think for me personally, endurance has been key.
Yeah, especially enduring all the hardships that you're describing. And I think that's, it's enduring it when it's hard, with the faith that it's going to be better tomorrow, like you're describing. I agree with you. I look at over the last, however many years I've been doing this, And there are times when it's hard, and there's times when it isn't, where it seems like everything you touch turns to gold. But it's really just enduring through all of those things that I agree, 100%, man. And you are correct. I mean, one thing I'll say I want to touch on is that you are right in that I have personally never been more excited about doTERRA than I am right now. And that's saying something. But last night, the entire night, I dreamt about doTERRA. I would wake up in the middle of the night excited with ideas that were coming to me. It's been a long time since I've had restless nights because I was so excited about where this was going. And, but frankly, the Thousand Diamond Project and this idea of creating a team like this and the lives that it's going to change and the difference that it's going to make and how the world is going to become a better place because I choose to believe in where this is going. I believe in it completely. I am willing to endure whatever it takes. I'm willing to persist through whatever it takes. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I have a vision that goes beyond diamond. And I'm willing to put in the hard work to do the action. That it doesn't mean anything unless I do the work. And that if I persist and have integrity, that my capacity to grow and to build and to hold all of this joy will continue to happen. I mean, I look at I just went through all of the principles that we learned about, but I want to say that I agree with all of them. And I'm thankful for all of your input on today's call. And God bless everybody in your journey to diamonds. Thanks.